Chapter 10. The Gambit. Voidkin struck with a ferocity that bordered on madness. Their shifting forms surged forward in a chaotic wave. An army of glowing eyes fixed hungrily on Kai and Eira, and Kai barely registered the mass of shifting forms before instinct threw him sideways. He slashed upward with the crystal, and light carved through the nearest creature's torso. It shrieked so loud that the sound scraped against his skull, and its body flickered like a guttering flame before putting itself back together. The thing hopped away, reforming as it retreated. "Your left!" Eira's shout cut through the noise. He spun. Claws raked the broken pavement where he'd been standing, gouging stone. His boots slipped on rubble as he drove the blade into the Voidkin's side. The resistance felt strange, like cutting through a cloud of smoke before hitting something fleshy and dense. The creature scattered into mist before coalescing a few paces back. "They won't stay down," he shouted. "Stop tickling them. Commit." As if to emphasize, she moved with brutal intention, her blade intercepting a Voidkin mid-lunge. The Myr'ides along her sword ignited as she cleaved straight through its arm. The severed limb collapsed into ash, and the rest of the creature unraveled a heartbeat later. More of them poured from the shattered towers around them. Their amorphous bodies rippled as they closed in. Sets of glowing eyes fixed on Kai and the crystal, blazing in his hand. The dagger illumined brighter with each strike. The creatures seemed drawn to it like moths to a flame. Zoryth materialized from the swarm. Skeletal claws descended toward Eira's throat. She deflected the strike with a sharp twist, sparks flying as her blade met with the witch's bone. Meanwhile, Kai slashed at the nearest Voidkin. His blade punched through its chest, and the thing fractured into wisps with a chittering laugh. "Stay close," Eira called. She sprinted toward a collapsed archway, its edges still carved with faded runes. "We need to funnel them." Kai followed. The Voidkin pressed from all sides. They moved like a school of sea predators, chaotic but coordinated, as though Zoryth was guiding them toward Chum. He drove the crystal through another one, buying himself a few seconds, but the tide kept coming. "We're getting boxed in," he shouted, parrying a strike that sent sparks cascading off the runes of his gloves. "That's the point." Eira cut down two more in quick succession, then darted toward a narrow gap between two toppled towers. A skeletal staircase clung to one wall beyond it. "Through there, now!" Kai plunged into the gap after her. Eira was already far up the staircase. He was 3 strides in when something shrieked behind him. Close. Too close. He spun. The Voidkin was already lunging, claws reaching for his throat. "No time to block! No time to—" A streak of black slammed into the creature's face. A fury of black feathers exploded as a raven flapped and cawed. The bird's talons raked across the Voidkin's eyes, and the thing went down hard, thrashing on the broken ground. The bird tore at it with beak and claw, wings beating furiously as the Voidkin writhed beneath it. Kai stood frozen for a heartbeat, staring. "Kai, move! Come!" Eira's shout snapped him back. He ran. Behind him, the Voidkin surged, chittering, shrieking, a roiling mass of claws and eyes. One broke from the pack and slashed at his side. He twisted away, but claws grazed at his shoulder. "Hurry! To the top!" Eira shouted ahead of him. Kai's lungs screamed. His legs burned. The crystal blazed so bright now that it seared his vision, and the Voidkin keened behind them, drawn to the light like— A voice drifted up from below. "Wherefore climb higher, boy, when thy sole escape lies in the fall." Cold sliced through Kai's chest. He glanced back. Zoryth stood on the steps beneath them, skeletal and utterly still, as though she'd always been there. Her hollow eyes caught the crystal's light. "Art thou such a fool to follow in her wake?" She raised an arm, prepared to strike. "Thou canst not flee thy shadow." Kai's hand plunged into the dust pouch at his belt. No time to think, only instinct. He yanked his hand free, glowing grains scattering as he carved a quick circle in the air. The motion felt clumsy and desperate, but his voice came out steady. "Elitharin Zorath, The curving lines in the air ignited. Light erupted from his palms. The searing beam lanced toward Zoryth. She shrieked, then laughed as the blast struck her. Her form scattered into writhing shadows, dissolving at the edges as the light drove her back down the stairs.
A piteous display of runecraft,
Zoryth growled. While she retreated, the wave of shadows kept coming.
Up!
Eira's voice. Nearly there! They burst onto the upper platform, and Kai's lungs seized from the view. The structure opened to empty sky. Wind slammed into Kai, cold and sharp against his sweat-soaked skin. Below, the ruins stretched endlessly. Massive iron mooring rings jutted from the platform's edges, their chains long since rusted away. Deep grooves scored the stone where airships had once docked, and an obelisk no taller than a man stood at the platform's center, carved with weathered glyphs. For a heartbeat, Kai thought they had gained the high ground. Then he saw the Voidkin gathering, not just below, but above, clinging to the tower's crumbling walls like insects. More poured from every shadow. "They're not stopping," he gasped. "They won't." Eira's gaze swept the storm, then snapped to him. Her expression was fierce. "But we're not trapped. We're leading them to a trap of our own." "What kind of trap?" "The kind where we don't die, if you trust me." Kai followed Eira as she dashed to the central obelisk. Its surface was inlaid with grooves and geometric recesses, and though wind and time had worn it down, the craftsmanship was unmistakably intricate and faintly, just faintly, humming with dormant perpetual. "What is this?" Kai demanded, keeping an eye on the approaching cloud of Voidkin. "A resonance guidance pillar," Eira said, already pulling Priscillium dust from her pouch. She scripted a glyph in the air, layering shimmering sigils over one another. "It's used to guide skycraft into port by tugging the ley lines they travel on." Kai stared at her, flabbergasted. A what for a what?" The Voidkin flooded onto the platform, closing in from all sides. Their growls scraped against Kai's ears. He stepped in front of Eira, crystal raised, and deflected a clawed strike. The impact jolted up his arm. "Eira, whatever you're doing, now, please," he shouted. Eira didn't respond. He heard her breathing hard behind him, then the scrape of dust against stone.
"Guidance pillar activated."
The pillar roared to life. Light erupted from its core, flooding the platform in brilliant white. Kai's eyes watered. The crystal wrenched in his palm, vibrating so violently that it tore from his grasp and struck against the guidance pillar with a loud clink. Above, the air tore. Thin lines of light materialized, strands of perpetual, dormant for centuries, stretching taut between the pillar and points beyond the tower. They strummed. They glowed. They let off an incredible heat. The sound was massive and layered, like the lowest string of some cosmic instrument pulled to breaking. The entire structure shuddered beneath his feet. The Voidkin shrieked in unison. Their forms twisted, convulsing as the resonance cut through them. Shadows peeled from their bodies in ribbons, unraveling into smoke. One dissolved in front of Kai, its scream fragmenting into silence. Then another, and another. The platform filled with their death cries, overlapping, echoing off crumbling stone. Kai couldn't look away. The light kept intensifying, searing white bleeding into his vision. The vibration climbed, louder and fuller, threatening to split him open from the inside. A deafening crack. The filaments snapped back like mooring lines snapping in the wind. Their light vanished. Everything went dark. Kai's ears rang. Smoke drifted across the platform, acrid and thick. The guidance pillar's glyphs flickered once, dull red, fading, then died completely. Cracks spiderwebbed across its surface, and chunks of stone broke away. The crystal clattered to the ground beside Kai, still glowing intensely. Behind him, Eira gasped and staggered back. Kai spun. She was pale, sweat beading from her forehead, hand still extended where the rune had been. Golden motes hung in the air for a heartbeat before dissolving.
Is it over?
His voice came out raw. Eira stared at the ruined pillar, chest heaving. When she finally spoke, her voice shook.
For now,
she swallowed hard.
I can't believe it worked.
Kai's legs gave out. He sat down hard.
You can't believe it worked? You mean you weren't sure?
She shot him a weak grin.
Would you have preferred I told you I was improvising?
No, definitely not. Kai dropped his head into his hands.
I think I'm gonna be sick. You're not gonna be sick. I might be sick.
Together, they descended from the tower. Kai's eyes flicked to Eira. The way she'd activated that pillar, carved her runes with such precision, and had known exactly what would happen when the ley lines ignited. That wasn't luck, nor was it guesswork. It wasn't possible to move like that, to know how ancient technology would work without having been here before. A lot.
You've been here before,
Kai said quietly as they reached the base of the staircase. It came out somewhere between observation and accusation. The unease in his gut tightened. What else wasn't she telling him? Eira didn't look at him.
Of course I have.
No, I mean you've spent time here, studied this place. She was silent for a beat too long. When she finally spoke, her voice was carefully neutral. I know the ruins well enough. Well enough to improvise a death trap on a crumbling pillar you weren't even sure would work? The thought landed sideways in his mind, and he almost laughed. Almost. Because if she had been improvising up there, if that whole brilliant and terrifying display had been her making it up as she went, then what did it mean that she knew these ruins so intimately? He wanted to press, but her attention was already ahead, her posture tense as they navigated through debris-strewn remnants of the tower's lower levels.